Hi everyone, this is the Q Trap. Welcome to the channel. So it's high time we go through the A to Z of wool trapping. What I'm going to do is to discuss wool trapping in 3 parts. The first part is the obvious question: should I be a wool trap, or do I want to be a wool trap? There are many positives and many negatives to being wool trap, so we'll discuss that in the first part. The second part is all about the build, the research, the gear, the jewels, the talents, the familiars, the heroes, all the technical aspects we need to know in order to build and maximize our wool trap. And the final part, the third part, we're going to talk about strategy of being wool trap, how to get hits, how do we lure people to come and hit us. And I'll give you a hint, it's pretty easy to be a wool trap and get many hits all day long. Okay, so let's get started on the first part of our discussion. That is, do I actually want to be a wool trap? Is wool trap something for me? And as I said before, there are many positives and negatives to being a wool trap. So let's go through the positives first. First of all, as we all know, being a trap, there are limits on your mite size, especially if you are a solo trap, like a wool trap, a troop trap, or a solo rain trap. The benefit of a wool trap is that you can basically be at any mite: 90 million, 100 million, 150 million, 137 million like I am right now, 200 million, 250 million mite, and people will still hit you if you have the right strategy in place. The reason for that is that for a wool trap, you don't need to use anti. That's right. For many of the traps out there, including rain traps, rain rally traps, solar traps, a lot of them will use anti, of course, to hide what troops they have in their castle. But for wool trap, you don't need to hide your troops. You can let the world know what you have, and people will still hit you with the right strategy. Some other benefits. As a wool trap, as I mentioned, because you're not in anti, you're going to get a lot of scouts and hopefully a lot of hits. That means 24/7 you are going to get attention, and you are going to be able to have a lot of fun with your wool trap, as long as your wool doesn't fall down, of course. With many of the other type of solo traps, you have to work pretty hard to get people to hit you. Whether that's going to go and steal monsters, whether you're just sitting there in research gear all day long, and hopefully someone who is courageous enough will come and hit you and try to solo you. Another benefit of being a wool trap is that it is a very, well, let's say it's a less popular strategy compared to many other trap styles out there. People think wool traps are rubbish, wools are rubbish, full stop, so they don't do the full wool research. And the key here is that you need to do a lot of wool research to be able to be an effective wool trap. A lot of people don't do the research, and they see that when your wool falls, it takes you 30+ days for it to heal, but there are ways around that, and if you build it right, you can get many hits before you even need to heal that wool. So if it's less popular, people won't see it as often, and therefore it's a more deceptive method of trapping people. Another main benefit of being wool trap, and I say this genuinely, is that unless you are offline and forget to shield, and even if you forget to shield, it's very easy to recover if you are zeroed. In fact, you don't have to have any troops to be a wool trap. You can just be a pure wool and still get kills. But if you have troops, you don't need a large amount of troops, as I will show you. So therefore, even if you forget to shield, you go offline, or whatever happens, and you get zeroed, you can recover very, very quickly. Unlike, for example, a solo trap where you're building millions of troops, and if you're zeroed, that's it for you for a little while, and it's going to cost you 300,000+ gems to get those to build that trap back. So from that perspective, wool trap has the definite advantage. If you fear being zeroed, fear no more with a wool trap. Okay, so those are some of the positives of being a wool trap. Now let's go through the negatives. The first negative is that being a wool trap is not the most efficient type of solo trap. The most efficient solo trap, of course, is a standard troop trap where you have 4 million to 10 million plus troops in your castle. What I mean by efficiency is that after being hit by wool trap, you cannot get hit continuously over and over, like say in a gangbang situation. Either your wall's gonna fall and you cannot defend anymore, or your traps are gonna get destroyed and therefore you have to rebuild that, and you cannot quickly recover those traps and walls as quickly as you can do in a troop trap, for example, where you can just gem your troops from your wounded troops very quickly and face another battle, especially in a situation where you're in a gangbang. So efficiency is not there. You maybe get 1 hit or 2 hits from the one enemy castle, and then you need to random away or shield and rebuild your traps and wall, etc. Another negative of being a wool trap is the research you need to do. Unlike a solo army trap, standard troop trap, you have to do a lot of research to get your wool defense up to a level where you can take hits from solo attacks from a 500 mil, 600 mil, 700 mil type of T4 enemy. So first of all, the research, there's a lot of research to do, which we'll go through in part 2. And additionally, you have to get to Academy 25 in order to unlock the much higher level wall defense research, which is basically like you're doing a T4 troop castle build, but for a wall. It's almost equivalent in terms of the time and effort you need to build that wall up once you get castle 20, once you get to Academy 25. And finally, one of the other negatives to being a wool trap, which goes hand in hand with the efficiency aspect we spoke about, is that if your wall gets knocked down from a strong hit, it will take you a minimum of 2 days to recover that wall by using a familiar. So if your wall's down, you are not going to be trapping anymore. Essentially, you go on a 2-day holiday. So unlike a solo troop trap where you can just keep going, keep healing your wounded and go and get hits all day, if your wall goes down, essentially you need to stop for 2 days and heal that wall before you can go and trap again. So those are some of the positives and negatives of being wool trap. Hope that was helpful for you to decide whether you want to give wool trap a try or go in another direction of being a troop trap or some other trap style that may be more effective for what you prefer to do in Lords Mobile. So part 2, we are going to go through the essentials of being Wool Trap in terms of research, gear, jewels, talents, familiars, heroes, all the technical aspects. See you soon.